I want you to remember something. Not long ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood at the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, in front of cameras, in front of the continent, and publicly celebrated the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. He said the federal government gave Dangote crude supply in Naira. He said they gave him trading license waivers. He said the government stood behind this refinery as a symbol of Nigeria's industrial independence. He celebrated him. Now, that same government, through NNPC, the state oil company, is standing in a federal high court in Lagos, calling that same refinery a monopoly threat to Nigeria's energy security. The same man, the same refinery, the same government, celebrated in Kigali, dragged to court in Lagos. I need you to pay attention today, because what I'm about to show you is not new. They have done this before to Haiti, to Bolivia, to Zambia, and now they are doing it to Nigeria. And the fingerprints are all over the documents they thought they deleted. Let's go. What the refinery actually is. Let me establish the fact first, because the facts alone are staggering. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery is the largest single-train refinery on the planet. 650,000 barrels per day installed capacity. As of early 2026, it hit 661,000 barrels per day, exceeding its own capacity. In February 2026, it reached full capacity. In April 2026, it supplied approximately 80% of Nigeria's entire daily petrol consumption. 80%. From one privately funded, African-built refinery. For context, Nigeria has been importing fuels for decades. NNPC's own refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna collectively received over 2.4 billion in turnaround maintenance funding and remained largely non-functional. The government spent that money. The refineries did not work. Nigeria kept importing. Nigerians kept suffering at the pump. The one man built a refinery with private capital. It worked. It works. It is running above capacity. It is supplying 80% of the nation's fuel needs. The September 2026 IPO is approaching, while analysts are valuing the business at between $40 and $50 billion. Pre-IPO private placements requests have already hit $2 billion. This is the refinery they are now calling a monopoly threat. Segment 2. What Dangote actually did. I have done this Dangote before. If you scroll down to my page, when the likes of Deji Adeyanju, part of the cabal that is running this country, started crying about fuel increments, I made a video. That video is very, very informative. Go and watch it so that you know who your enemies are. Now let me show you. Now let me be precise about what triggered this court case, because the narrative being pushed is that Dangote is the aggressor, that he is trying to shut out competition, that he wants to control everything. Let me tell you what he actually did. In April 2026, the Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the NMDPRA, issued import licenses to 6 marketers: NIPCO, AA Rano, Matrix, Shafa, Pinnacle, and Bono. 6 companies licensed to import 720,000 metric tons of petrol into a market that Dangote is already supplying at 80% capacity. Dangote went to court to challenge those licenses. He argued they violate the Petrol Industry Act. He argued that domestic supply is sufficient. He argued that flooding the market with imports while a fully optional local refinery exists undermine everything the refinery was built to achieve. And NNPC, the same NNPC, whose broken refineries bled Nigeria dry for 30 years, filed a defense in that court calling Dangote a monopoly. Think about the audacity of that. NNPC, with their own refinery break down, then they leak Nigeria dry. They have audacity to take a one man who has built a refinery for Africa and is working. Because I will show you where the lacuna is. Let's go. The institution that failed Nigeria for 3 decades. The institution that presided over fuel scarcity year after year. The institution that took 2.4 billion for refineries that they did not refine. That institution is standing in courts, lecturing a working refinery about energy security. But here is where it gets deeper, because NNPC is not acting alone. Then get out. Segment 3. The documents they deleted. On April 7th, 2026, the World Bank published its Nigeria Development Updates. In that document, a formal, official, peer-reviewed World Bank policy report, they told the Nigerian government to reopen the premium motor sprint market to imports. Their exact arguments that the suspension of import licenses since January 2026 has reduced competition, allowed price to exceed import parity level, and that imported petrol was approximately 12% cheaper than fuel from the Dangote refinery. Are you getting the gist? World Bank, they tell us, say, imported fuel, they cheaper. So for that reason, make them allow them come pour us imported fuel so that our very own refinery go shut down. And there's some of these Nigerians whose brain has been eaten by cacahuans of tribalism and religion. Someone like Deji Adeyanju will come and argue this to us Nigerians. Because beside his name is written barrister, avocado, lawyer, whatever. PhD, MSD, Nenemi Kata, Bikatso. Yes, will come and tell us, argue this for us. I will show you what that means in simple terms. Then 10 years from now, you people start crying. We have five refineries. No one is working. We have 5. These people are playing you. Have you watched my video where that man said African countries, West African countries will not be allowed to industrialize? Do you know how they do it? They don't do it with magic wand. They do it with policies. This is one of the policy. They will reduce their fuel. In fact, they will give you subsidy. They will tell your government to remove your subsidy. They will give you subsidy to be buying from there. By so doing, you are crumble. Who dwells down? Who dwells down? Nigeria. Thank Deji for this video. I want making see this video. No, you're waiting for collect for your FCC hand. Let's go. I reverse. If you now understand the politics of this country, now like this, Nigeria will better pass America in 4 years. They not go agree. Why? Because they want people to continue the carry on back for they do 12-hour shifts. Waiting America get one and not get. Now ordinary road and good hospital, nothing else. That country, Nadi. You might not talk. Let's go. Their recommendation, World Bank recommendation now. Direct quotes from the document was reopen the PMS market to competition. Allowing qualified marketers to resume imports would restore competition, reduce pricing distortion, and better align domestic price with global benchmark. Greater market contestability would also strengthen supply security by reducing reliance on a single refinery. Reducing reliance on a single refinery. The World Bank told Nigeria in writing to break down Dangote's market position. Now here is what happened next. Nigerians pushed back hard. The outcry was immediate. They even locked their conversation safe. World Bank locked their conversation. The outcry was immediate and fierce. 4 days later, the World Bank deleted the reports from its website. Gone, removed, as if it was never published. And then don't they look and say, no, don't they wise. This coming election, come closer, let me tell you for your year, me they know here. This coming election, it is not Nigerians versus Tinubu. It is Nigerian versus the West and its allies. If you never know, you know. Not be on the wrong shoes. But this 2027 election, una shall get them say now on the wrong shoes because of I don't tire una. Because Tinubu not they run any shoes now. Tinubu na yes sir governments. Now make them they use insecurity to the humble una. And they released a statement walking it back, saying their recommendations may run counter to efforts that countries around the world are undertaking to ensure their energy and national security. They published it. Nigerians riled. They deleted it. But the instruction had already been delivered. And somebody in Abuja was listening. Now ask yourself, why would the World Bank tell an oil-producing nation, a nation sitting on one of the largest crude reserves on the continent, to import oil? 4. The subsidy trap. I want you to think about the sequence very carefully. For years, decades, the IMF and World Bank pressured Nigeria to remove its fuel subsidy. The argument was always the same. The subsidy is inefficient. It distorts the market. It benefits the rich more than the poor. Remove it, and the market will correct itself. Nigeria removed the subsidy in May 2023. Petrol price exploded overnight. The naira collapsed. Inflation hit the poorest Nigerians like a hammer. The people who were supposedly being protected by removing the subsidy became poorer. But here is what nobody said loudly enough at the time. When Nigeria had a fuel subsidy, imported fuel was expensive for foreign marketers to compete with because the subsidy kept domestic prices artificially low. Remove the subsidy, price rise to market levels, And suddenly, foreign subsidized fuel becomes competitive. Do you understand what happened? You understand that? Then tell our government, pressure our government, they come on subsidy from our side. Because when we were having government subsidized fuel, foreign marketers, it was difficult for them to compete because our fuel was low, because government was subsidizing for us. Now that our government took our subsidy out, our money crushed, the fuel increased. Then now the foreign marketers, they will now bring us fuel subsidized fuel. The one that was crying for 2 months ago, they will not bring subsidized fuel for us. You now think that they are doing you a favor. It's so now you be. Call Deji for me, call Deji na iso. You will think they are doing you a favor. They are killing your country, killing your currency, and they are killing you. The West pressured Nigeria to remove its subsidy, while their own fuel industry remains subsidized, directly or indirectly, through tax breaks, export financing, and government-backed trading arrangements. Nigeria removed subsidy, price rise, foreign fuel becomes attractive. World Bank published report saying import foreign fuel. NNPC goes to court to keep import license active. They remove our shield, then they told us to open the gates. This is not a coincidence. This is a coordinated economic strategy. And it has a name. It has a history. And that history is written in the destruction of countries that went before us. Segment 5, the countries that went before us. Let me give you a short refresh to memory. The country that has been sabotaged in this manner. Haiti. Haiti used to grow its own rice. Haitian farmers fed Haitian people. Then the IMF and World Bank arrived with loans and conditions. Remove tariffs, open the market, let competition decide. The United States was subsidizing its own rice farmers at billions of dollars per year. American rice flooded Haiti at price no Haitian farmer could compete with. Within years, Haiti's domestic rice production was devastated. The farmers lost their land. The food supply became dependent on imports. And when global prices spiked, Haiti had no domestic capacity left to fall back on. Today, Haiti cannot feed itself. Bolivia. Water privatization in 2000 pushed under World Bank structural conditions, handed Bolivia's public water supply to a private corporation. Water price tripled overnight in a country where most people earn less than $100 a month. Mass protests, deaths. The government eventually reversed it, but the template had been applied. Zambia. Fertilizer subsidies removed under IMF pressure. Agricultural output fell. Food insecurity followed. Policy reversal came too late for the people who went hungry. The pattern is always the same. Find the thing a country depends on for survival. Convince them to open it to the market. Flood it with subsidized foreign products. Destroy the domestic capacity. Create permanent dependency. And then when the country is dependent, they will accept any condition to keep the supply coming. This is what they are trying to do to Nigeria's fuel market. Dangote's refinery is the obstacle. So first you celebrate it, to use it politically. Then you pressure the government through loan conditions and policy reports. Then you go to court to keep the import license flowing. Then you delete the evidence when the people notice. Segment 6, the IPO dimension. There is one more layer to this that cannot be ignored. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery is preparing for its IPO in September 2026. Analysts valued it at between $40 and $50 billion. Pre-IPO private placement requests have already reached $2 billion. This is going to be one of the largest listings in African financial history. And right now, at the most sensitive possible moment for investors' confidence, there is active legal uncertainty over the refinery's market access, its rights to challenge import license, and its regulatory standing in Nigeria downstream sector. Every week, this court case continues in a week that institutional investors are pricing in regulatory risk. They are trying, they want to break this man. Every headline that say monopoly is a headline that marks the IPO value harder to defend. Who benefits from a suppressed Dangote IPO valuation? Who benefits from foreign investors being uncertain about whether an African-based refinery has protected market access in its own country? Ask the question. Follow the interests. Let me bring this home. They told us to remove the subsidy. We removed it. They told us to open the markets. We are opening it. They published a report telling us to import fuel from abroad, while our own refinery runs at full capacity. When we push back, they delete the reports, but the lawsuit is still in court, and the import license are still being defended. Dangote did not create this fight. He responded. to a market being deliberately flooded to undermine what it built. The same government that celebrated him in Kigali is now the instrument through which this pressure is being applied. Not because Tinubu woke up one morning and decided to destroy Dangote, but because when you owe money to people who want your market open, you stop being the one making the decision. That is the oldest trap in the colonial economic playbook. You do not need to invade a country anymore. You lend them money. You attach conditions. You call the conditions reform. You call resistant monopoly. And you delete the evidence when the people start to read. My name is Inye. Nigerians, don't fall for it. Don't fall for this monopoly dance they are dancing. They are trying to break the only one thing we have left, the Dangote refinery. They are trying hard to break it. And they are dangling that shiny 2 cents, 300, their fuel is going to cost lesser to your face. If you are light, you are your own. And for your information, Tinubu is not in charge of this country. The earlier, the better people realize it and send him to a relaxing bed before he goes to meet his ancestor. The earlier, the better.